This is The Blockchain Show, episode number 178, with Michelle O'Connor from Uphold.
The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, welcome back. You're listening to The Blockchain Show. I'm your host, Ethan Kinderconnect. Today I have a special guest. It's Michelle O'Connor, the VP of Marketing and Community at Uphold. Michelle, welcome to The Blockchain Show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great to talk to you today. So I know that we're going to be talking about the digital money platform, but before we get into that, if you would, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be involved with the blockchain.
Sure. So I started out in marketing and PR, actually living in Europe and Italy. I'm American from California, but finished college over there. And had an interesting path to end up in fintech and blockchain. I worked in New York for years and with lifestyle brands, and really just kind of at one point decided that I wanted to work with smaller businesses. So I started my own marketing company. Ended up back in California and found my way up to the Bay Area, where it's kind of, obviously known as a hub of creativity and tech space, and met our founder, Halsey Minor, who is one of those visionaries that when you talk to him, you leave inspired, no matter what he talks about. And he was telling me about Bit Reserve at the time. And I had very little knowledge of blockchain and Bitcoin. This was back in 2015 when neither were household names like they are now. And he was telling me about a role that they had, and I really was excited, but also overwhelmed because it was such a new emerging space. I met quite a few members of the team and had a moment where, after, rounds of interviews, I said, well, I knew it was going to be a learning curve, and it was fairly intimidating, but it was one of those moments where you go, this is the future and this is the moment. So if I don't do this now, will I regret it? So I took the jump, and it was definitely a learning curve, especially back then. Not as many content creators around this space or educational content. And now it seems like with a blink of an eye, it's 5 years later, this space has emerged incredibly and grown exponentially, far more mainstream use and adoption. So it's really been an interesting ride and exciting. And I'm just happy to see every day more people talking about it and using digital assets and different adoptions for blockchain. So it's been really a cool decision I made and exciting.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. And it's just amazing how much everything has progressed since then. So I can definitely echo the sentiment. I'm definitely impressed at how you were able to take that leap of faith. Maybe let's go back. So you came back to the States, and were you looking for a job? Do you have blockchain in mind, or was it to just kind of work out that way?
No, so I didn't at all. It was totally serendipitous. It was going from having my own agency and small clients and really wanting to be in-house and be part of something inspirational, but I had no idea what that was, right? And there's so much here in, the Bay Area where I just kind of didn't know where to start. And had quite a few conversations with some wearable tech and the driverless cars and things like that. So everything was interesting, but there wasn't a moment or a team that had such passion about what they were doing than was the Bit Reserve team, now Uphold. When I left, it was one of those moments, and there was a video I watched with Halsey. I mean, he made it in 2014, and it's so ahead of its time that if you watch it now, it's incredibly timely because it talks about digital gold. I really was so awe-inspired that I knew I had to do it, but I didn't know how, because it was such a moment of almost fake it till you make it, right? No problem. And then you go behind and read every blog post, every piece of publication, followed some of the influencers at the time, which were very few and far between. So it was an exciting and inspiring learning curve, which took quite a few months of our engineering team being very patient when I asked incredibly basic questions, and they just took me through. So,
yeah, it's great to have that. I still do that, so don't worry. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Uphold and how exactly people are using it?
Sure, I'd love to. So Uphold is a digital money platform. We were founded back in 2014 as Bit Reserve. We've obviously been in the space for a while, and essentially our mission is to democratize access to financial services. That's a better way of saying bridging old and new money systems, but globally. So if you look at in the US, you and I can walk, I guess we don't really go into banks right now, but in theory, we could go into a bank, open a bank account, have access to a money market, have access to a saving account that draws interest. Those are all taken for granted by us, right? People in a lot of part of the world don't have access to those services. So we provide that bridge. We also believe that being dependent on one form of currency shouldn't be the way it is. We have such selection globally as far how we socialize with different social platforms, how we travel with different airlines, how we shop with different, e-commerce or brick and mortar. So why should we in the US only be able to hold a USD, or people in Europe be restricted to euros? We take the idea that digital currencies and cryptos and blockchain have enabled and provide a digital wallet to give access to holders to really hold what they want, how they want, where they want. It's really empowering the consumer to have a really diversified portfolio, if you will, across 60 plus different currencies. I think there's 10,000 pairs now. A lot of people get paid in, Bitcoin, but they want to spend it. How do they spend it? Some merchants accept Bitcoin, some don't. So we enable them to convert from Bitcoin to their traditional local currency and sweep it to a bank or spend it on the debit card or through our equities offering that's outside of the US. People outside of the US can now buy US stocks. That's a way of wealth generation for the future that otherwise wasn't available, or if it was available, it was incredibly cost prohibitive and monthly fees and run the gamut of the minimums and what you had to do. So we really take traditional financial services, see how we can improve upon them by using crypto, blockchain, etc.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I'm definitely sympathetic towards those who are just not necessarily intentionally discriminated against, but they just don't have access to the, the tools that a lot of the wealthy and the rich in our country have, for generations utilized and taught their children how to use. So I think that's great. And maybe even people in this country can learn how to get involved with gaining assets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such a great time to get involved. You guys have a great blog too. Anybody can check out at uphold.com. I was reading that earlier today. Just awesome wealth of information, and it looks really cool. Everything you guys make is just so cool. It looks awesome. Like the debit card. I really want to get a debit card.
I can't tell you how happy that makes me to hear, and I'll be sure to let our team know as soon as we get off the call, because we really do work really hard to bring products to market that not only look cool, which is important because, aesthetically, if something doesn't look cool or doesn't function well, people won't keep using it, but also where there's a use case. So a debit card is really one of it was years in the making. So to finally get it out the door was really exciting in the US, and next on the roadmaps, UK, Europe. So
yeah, that's just something that's so awesome to me, just that you can have something that works at the store, but on the back end, it's a completely different and revolutionary technology that the person right behind you wouldn't even know the difference, but there it is.
Yeah, it's cool to see a lot of people tweet what they do, and I forget his handle, but one of our more engaged kind of community members, followers, last night took his wife on a date, and he took a picture of the dinner, and that he paid with it was his Apple card, and he paid with that he'd earned via the Brave browser. So seeing those kind of stories are what really drive our team and the creative process of what are we going to do next and how are we going to keep building this.
Oh, I love it. Tell me a little bit about, just the challenges of marketing to this. I don't even know what to call us, the crypto enthusiasts, because I spend hours looking at downloads and trying to figure out the demographic and how, what works and what doesn't. So what's sort of the day-to-day work that you do to try to reach more people?
It's inherently always a challenge, right? If we look at 2017 onwards, 2017 just blew the lid off the crypto space. I was getting so many messages a day saying, hey, tell me about this altcoin or that, or what's this? And, am I going to be rich by the end of the year because of this? That was the first part of really going, wow, we have to really make sure that at least from an Uphold perspective, our community and users are well educated in anything they're doing. We inherently make sure that anything we market isn't perceived as investment advice, because at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to think that we're promising a return on anything. And that's a tricky, path to walk, because I really could say X is up X percent, but then I can't say go buy. So it's challenging. And then as right now we're in, this pandemic, there has been kind of a run on alternative assets. You've seen gold is up exponentially. Bitcoin is right now having a heck of a moment, as are some of the alts. And that's because there's currency debasement and inflation. So beyond just our, kind of the OG crypto enthusiasts, it's expanding and evolving. Well, how do you educate and market to those people? And that's conversations we're having daily, is looking at trends of what traditional media are talking about and usually flipping that on its head, because that's old. It's not intended to help forward look or forward think or kind of explore some of the emerging tech that really can help change some of the challenges that legacy bank or legacy investing face at the moment. Bloomberg had an article today that was not positive about crypto. It's a short-sighted article and clearly coming from a not well-informed point of view. Daily, I'm kind of looking at how I can take what we offer specifically, or what crypto offers, or what the ability to diversify your portfolio or get paid in different assets in different parts of the world, what problem we're solving, and how I can help educate to that. So as much as I can do that on a daily basis, that's the challenge. I think going forward, what we're looking at more and more is localization, where we have different customers. And as we've grown, this year has been a banner year for us, both transaction volume, but user acquisition. We hit over 1 million users just year to date sign up. So we went, we're hovering around 2.5 million from our start from January 2020 until a few weeks ago, we hit 1 million users in 6 months. So, nearly double. Yeah, thank you. It was amazing. So nearly doubling for us is going, okay, wow, this is great. We're getting, interest. We're part of the mainstream conversation. Now, how do we educate those people beyond speculation or beyond just kind of test driving us? So that's really where we're focused now, is how do we help our users get educated enough to really feel comfortable to make some decisions beyond just a little speculation. And we see that picking up, especially with products like the debit card or equities or gold.
Yeah, that's interesting. We had a guest on not too long ago from I think he was from Melbourne, and they did a partnership with the Perth Mint for one of their gold tokens, and I see that you guys have some sort of relationship with the Perth Mint, and
yep.
Gold is always something that I've been interested in since I was a kid, collecting coins from old. I don't know if they were original, but I used to collect, Roman coins and that sort of thing. And just to see it transition into the crypto world is something that I never would have imagined possible.
Yeah. So gold was really interesting. And I think, I don't know kind of your age group, but I grew up watching DuckTales. So Scrooge McDuck and his, he would jump into his vault of gold coins, and that always comes to mind whenever I talk about gold. But when we've always offered the ability to buy gold on our platform, and we have a partner that you can get physically delivered already, but there wasn't a backer for that, and that when we look at products that we're offering, how's it evolving, and how do we make sure people feel comfortable in investing in it? So with the gold product that just launched, what's interesting is a lot of gold offerings. If you were to go buy gold on X platform, you said, I want to buy physical gold from this gold dealer, you have to pay monthly custodian fees on that. So for them to hold the gold, you're paying monthly. So you have to figure that into your returns, which can take away from the profit. It's up now, but if you look at, I think the early 80s until now, gold would have to go up 10 or 15 more percent to equate for the inflation from then. So there's really figures and assets very similar to legacy finance, where they get you with different fees. And then how is it reputable? So there's no transparency in that. Even though you're buying gold, are you really buying it? And what do you have for that beyond like a paper receipt or an email? So through UPXAU, it's on the blockchain. It's an ERC20 token, but it's representative 1-to-1 for what you're buying via the Perth Mint. The Perth Mint has the government guarantee. So it's really giving that extra vote of confidence, and that this isn't just, a digitized version of something, that there's no 1-to-1. This is a traditional stable coin, if you will, that is giving not only access, but it's verifiable via the blockchain, and you can actually order it. So you can have it physically delivered if you wanted to. But removing the hurdles of having to go in with thousands of dollars worth, having to pay monthly custodian fees, it really making it just more accessible, which is kind of what we do with everything.
Yeah, wow, that's excellent. It just reminds me of the Scrooge McDuck character. I always wondered, how does he swim through the gold? Like, I thought if he would hit the gold, he would like break his neck. But I guess I don't know how that would work. I've never had enough gold to jump into it. So
good problems to have, I guess.
Yeah. And it's amazing how just truly international it is. It kind of makes me think about just what everybody's experiencing around the world right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. There's graphs I can look at that shows the market and what's happening, but I don't understand it like a lot of financially literate people do. So I imagine that they're, trying to find ways to keep their assets safe and stay one step ahead of what's going to happen. But this seems like a really good way to kind of move assets around kind of freely and easily, and not necessarily be tied to one economy. Like, say, like if someone's just dealing with American stocks, they can kind of get into.
Exactly.
I guess it's kind of like an open-ended question, but maybe just like some observations since the pandemic has hit. You guys have seen such a huge surge in users. Do you think it's got to be related, right? I don't know.
Yeah. So we looked. It's interesting because it grew exponentially, and our team has been busier than ever because we've been so busy, and we already had a chock full roadmap of products. So it's been a busy time for us, both internally as a company and externally with growth. There's definitely a correlation between the U.S. printing, the stimulus, the threat of currency debasement in the U.S. specifically, but also kind of a global emerging financial crisis, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowing if there's going to be a second surge, what that looks like for COVID. Just a lot of people wanting to go beyond their traditional government assets, a lot of distrust that we hadn't seen as much as we do now. I think a lot of people want to take back control of their funds more than they have previously. And it's been interesting to see. We had quite a few $1,200 transactions right around when the stimulus checks started rolling in. I don't think that's coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence that a lot more people are looking at web monetization partners that we have and how they can earn, almost passive income like that. So it's been indicative of a shift in a mindset globally of people wanting more control of their own and really being able to diversify what they're holding.
Yeah, that's great. So other than gold and the debit card, which I'm not sure, is that out yet or is that still to be released?
Yeah, both. So the debit card is out in the US market. Anyone with an Uphold account can order it. And then gold launched yesterday. So we're coming hot on the heels of that. And what's interesting about that product is there's the gold bugs. There's a few that are I can think of on Twitter. Pomp had Peter Schiff on, and Peter Schiff's been on a few other shows. And Peter's inherently, gold, no crypto. He lost his keys, etc. So there's kind of the gold holders. But when we built this product, it was okay. What do we do, and why are we listing it? It was to bridge those that traditional gold is hard to grasp and get, so making it more attainable. But you can then spend it on your debit card. So again, just products all kind of working within the ecosystem as much as possible.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why Peter Schiff is so angry about crypto. I didn't know that he lost his keys. I wonder how much he lost there.
Yeah, if you go back on his Twitter handle, I think he recovered it eventually, but it was the classic moment of crypto problems and where things can be improved upon. So key recovery and things like that are something that our partners and an alliance, we're a member of the Universal Protocol Alliance, actually have a key recovery program built in, and inheritability. So kind of addressing those as our industry evolves. If someone needs to leave an inheritance of their crypto assets, right now it's nearly impossible. So those are kind of addressable, key recovery. But I do think that traditional gold enthusiasts want the gold physically, or they want to know it's physically somewhere. But then that's a small group of consumers who are able to pay those fees and look at the really long-term investment versus near-term avoiding currency debasement or inflation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people, they have enough money that it doesn't even faze them. I know, there's some people that have homes hidden in the hills with safes full of gold coins and all different currencies. And it's like, man, there's such a disparity within our society. Some people have so much and some have so little. So it's kind of cool how you can work with both people. I mean, you got individuals, but you've also got, I see businesses that can work with Uphold. How does that work?
A couple different ways that can work. We have business accounts, just like, you can have a business bank account. Businesses that leverage us because frankly, it's financially a better use case for them. We don't have the barrier to entry for fees or minimums, things like that. So it's an easier way to transact. A lot of small businesses are starting to use us to accept payments because as a lot of people are going more digital, they're having to pay merchant settlement fees and at risk for chargeback. So small businesses can't get hit with those fees. It's non-sustainable. So we've seen a massive uptick in that because it's essentially to, Venmo, but diversified. So we're global. Venmo isn't. That's been a really interesting trend that we're seeing around the world is these small businesses saying, hey, I don't want the risk of chargebacks. I don't want to pay huge merchant settlement fees. I need my money now. And they're utilizing us for that. Separately, we have an open API. So we have API partners like Coil or Brave. The list goes on and on. We have API partners that offer return on investment through interest and loan products. So we really have built a powerful platform where other companies can plug into us and expand their services.
Yeah, that's really cool. Tell me a little bit more about the API. I'm not too familiar with what that means.
Sure. So essentially what it means, if you look at Uphold, it is, a foundation or a platform. We have put a lot of money and time both into our licensing, our regulatory process, or compliance, our KYC, which is know your customer, making sure that we have a team in place that can keep people's accounts safe through fraud mitigation, risk assessment. There's a lot that has gone into what we've built. And a lot of companies either don't have the funding bandwidth or desire to do that themselves. So through the open API, they can leverage our platform and all of the infrastructure we've built without having to go through the years and heavy investment to establish those. So we really enable them to say, hey, we're going to plug in to Uphold's ecosystem and hit the ground running.
Very good. And just to kind of transition back to anyone listening who'd like to get involved, a lot of people enjoy the trading on like Coinbase or Robinhood or whatever they're into. But tell us about the Uphold Trading app, how that works.
Sure. So what we kind of looked at and what we continue to build is there's speculation, which will always be a part of crypto, I imagine. You want to invest in HODL to stay long term to see what the asset's going to do. Then there's trading, where you are actually utilizing for day-to-day use or sending globally to friends or sending to family, or a lot of people that use our platform specifically in Latin America are kind of, gig economy or designers or coders that invoice companies around the world that they work for, and they want to get paid in crypto versus their local currency because of volatility. So there's so many different use cases of what we offer. But if you look at kind of trading as a base, we in January reset our entire model and removed commissions for trade, or removed fees for trading. So we've made it quite a bit more competitive based on our competitor kind of peer space, to encourage people to feel comfortable moving between assets and really follow our anything to anything ethos. And to take it a step further, a lot of the cryptos that we support, we're connected to 7 blockchain networks. So you can bring on and take off as well. So just like your traditional bank account, you can sweep the cryptos that are connected to those networks off to the networks as well. If you want to take them off to your ledger or cold wallet, send them to a different platform, really making the experience yours to do what you want, how you want.
Wow, very good. Man, that's such an awesome tool. And I'm glad that you could come on and talk to us today about it. I encourage everybody to check it out at uphold.com. I see that you were recognized in a list of most inspirational women in tech in 2019. So that's really awesome. And congratulations. Hey,
thanks. Yeah, here's hoping 2020. 2020 has been a weird year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's true. It's weird. We've got the internet. We're all connected, but a lot of us are still at home, especially where I'm at. It's strange. Like in the age of information, I feel kind of cut off still. But I'm curious to hear, just kind of your perspective, how, not just you and women, but how the crypto scene is changing and how it might be changing for the better.
I'd like to say that it's becoming, at least what I see, what we'll take crypto Twitter, right? Because that's the most active, more well-rounded and inclusionary. So there's there's always the groups who are, dedicated to their specific asset that they believe in or heavily invested in. And previously, there used to be a lot of really negative sentiment between different, communities of different alts and assets. It seems like that has subsided a little bit since the pandemic hit, or at least I'm not seeing it as much. And more people are coming to understand. The more we're looking at ourselves as a community across multiple assets that wants to bring mainstream adoption, encourage regulation, really bring everything forward, and the less we're infighting, the better it is for everyone. So I seem to think and have seen, at least based on Twitter and articles I've read, that is kind of where everything's going, and that's wonderful. I hope it kind of keeps that trend. And then for women and, in the space, it's kind of like most finance. It is, I don't like to say male dominated, but there's more men than women using our products, holding crypto. But what's good to see is that number is kind of becoming more balanced. We, with our onset this year, have seen quite a few women and millennial and Gen Zs coming on and taking power of their financial world. So that's cool to see. In the space in general, I have a great peer group of senior leaders who I look to inspirationally and help encourage the next kind of generation of women in our space. So it's pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really, really enjoy that sentiment, and I'm excited to see where this all goes, where it takes us. I know that we've got just a few minutes left here, but if you would just, give us some closing thoughts, let us know what you're excited about that's coming soon from Uphold, and just anything else you'd like to leave us with.
Sure. So I think the product I'm most excited about, because it has been a long time coming, is the debit card. Even though it's already launched in the US, I think some people were confused because they either signed up for the wait list or they didn't understand. So I encourage anyone who has an Uphold account or doesn't yet, but wants to utilize their crypto or their assets, or kind of diversify how they spend things, check out the debit card, because it really is a differentiator. And as soon as travel open up, it doesn't have foreign transaction fees. So it really is merging kind of our anything to anything global ethos in that way. And hoping that comes to Europe in the next few months, knock on wood. And I think really our equities product, because it personally for me, as much as we can democratize access and give people who don't easily have it the opportunity to build wealth and just get a fair shot at non-traditional banking, really is kind of my heart song, and what I hope that we can continue to do beyond just the equities project.
Well, yeah, good work so far. I just really want to thank you for taking the time to come on the show today and teaching us all a little bit more about just this ever-changing space. Yeah, Michelle, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It was great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, that's all we got for this episode of The Blockchain Show. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Michelle for joining us for this episode. If you like what you heard, please give us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get this episode. If you didn't like what you heard, send us an email, info@theblockchainshow.com. You can check out the show notes at theblockchainshow.com. Connect with us on social media. We're happy to connect. Talk to you next week, everyone.